My name is Bali Chiranda with Clorox Pro, and I'm very happy on behalf of my organization, Clorox Pro, as well as the ISSA Canada show to be a 2021 Platinum sponsor. And our organization has recognized significant opportunities in Canada, and we sincerely look forward to speaking with a lot of you on the conference today. As a bit of a background, at Clorox, we provide disinfection solutions across the country, and we also go in to provide consultative services on how to use these disinfectant products. So we look forward to collaboration with multiple stakeholders from all parts of Canada, as well as all parts of North America. And please feel free to reach out to us and engage so that we can see how we can have a conversation with you. It is my pleasure to introduce today's ISSA Canada show, Canada's show closing note key session, which is a roundtable discussion entitled Moving Forward in a Post-COVID World. Looking forward definitely to that. On behalf of today's panel and the entire team at Clorox, we hope you enjoyed today's keynote and all the other sessions that you have. We also hope you enjoyed the rest of the great sessions content that Remy Cho delivered today. And after the closing keynote has concluded, please join us in the ISSA Canada show virtual networking reception and make sure to visit us at our table and say hello. Thank you again for being with us. Please, please, please enjoy today's closing keynote session. Over to you, Ken. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barley. Our first speaker is Russell Hay with Scandinavian Building Services Limited. Russ is their president and CEO and is going to lead us off today with his comments on procedures. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Ken. Just before I start, I would like to say it's a privilege to be a speaker and be a part of such an incredible organization such as ISSA, and specifically being a part of the BSC Council. But the most important thing I'd like to say is thanking all of the cleaning staff throughout the world who are the true brave heroes going into harm's way every day to keep us all safe. And I think we can all thank them for that.
That's very well said, Russ, and we're glad to have you on board with us today.
Thanks again, Ken. So with that being said, procedures have taken on a new meaning over the last year and a half. They have not only changed dramatically, they are executed differently, reported differently, and overseen differently. But before I start on procedures specifically, it's important to know one of the most defining trends in the cleaning industry today. It's driven by increased public concern over health. Cleaning that may not be as noticed by the public has now been put under a microscope. Expectation from the public and businesses have shifted and will continue to shift to create healthier and safer facilities. So how have procedures changed? Let's start with the pandemic plan, because that's what we're in right now. What were already robust pandemic plans needed to be rewritten for an actual pandemic. Initially, businesses in our industry rewrote their respective plans and provided them to their customers, ensuring they were a live item. As they need to evolve with all of the world, as the world continued to understand the virus better and how to combat it. Scandinavian, for example, had daily meetings with our executive team, ensuring we were ahead of the ever-evolving requirements through the pandemic. An example of that would be things like a shutdown or different mandates from the federal or provincial governments. Obviously, procedures for health and safety are paramount. They always have been, and they always will be. These procedures, needed to change specifically for COVID-19. For example, high touch point cleaning, electrostatic spraying, PPE, social distancing, women's training, and equipment handling, just to name a few, all needed to change. Health and wellness procedures became absolutely vital. Working in an environment safely was of the utmost importance, and specific refresher training on health and safety with an increase of training frequency was imperative. This brings me to my next point, which is training. Procedures and training changed dramatically. For example, From a Scandinavian perspective, we had refresher training each month with a specific training module and safety focus. That immediately changed to every week. And in the beginning of COVID, could change multiple times a week. Training procedures on PPE and disinfection was obviously absolutely item critical. Things like individual interaction and working with multiple people on site, those procedures needed to adapt for social distancing, which, and Ken, I'm sure you can attest to this, which is a phrase that none of us ever want to say again. How to interact with customers in locations needed to change. Training procedures were literally rewritten, adding things that were specific to COVID-19. Procedures dramatically changed for different types of industries. For example, amendments were made to cleaning and disinfection specifications of a facility specifically for COVID-19. Day cleaning services increased the number of staff, how many hours a day they were working, and focusing on completing COVID-19 disinfection throughout the entire day. Like I said before, visibility was and still is paramount for people entering facilities to feel safe. General cleaning shifted to focus more on disinfection with additional hours added. This was a major investment for all of the businesses and all of the different industries. In speaking of visibility, reporting programs that were always important were now of the absolute utmost importance. Businesses needed to know exactly what was taking place in terms of cleaning and disinfection in their facilities and ensuring that all disinfection was completed to the exact allocated frequency. With an already robust reporting system, the companies needed to be reconfigured to relay specific information depending on the industry with absolute certainty and precision. Businesses wanted and needed more visibility on all cleaning procedures and frequencies that were occurring daily on site. This not only provides transparency to the customer, but also accountability from the provider.
So Russ, here's a question for you. What do you think the future is going to look like?
You know what, Ken? What I believe I think the future progression is going to be quite simple. I think investment on cleaning needs will continue to rise, and to have visibility for psychological satisfaction for the public. Even though we are understanding COVID-19 much better and how it spread, the industry will be held to a higher standard as its workforces are now considered the first line of defense when it comes to stopping the spread of viruses, infectious disease, and other contaminants in public spaces.
It's very interesting. It's going to be interesting to follow how this all plays out as we move, hopefully, from a COVID into a post-COVID environment very shortly. Thank you for your comments today, Russ.
Thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate the time.
You're welcome. Our second speaker is Yanni Boutsalis with Impact Cleaning Services Limited. Yanni is the Director of Finance and Administration and is going to share his insights on washrooms. Welcome, Yanni.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't we start with how things are looking right now from a washroom perspective?
Perfect. And hopefully I don't rehash too many things that are going to be said in this whole panel here, but currently with washrooms in facilities, office spaces, in terms of building service contractors, administering our services to them, I think even looking a little bit prior to COVID, what kind of washrooms stood as almost the black sheep of all the facilities. They were the cause of drawing unwanted attention from all sides, whether it was the stakeholders or the cleaning side. We all had kind of nothing to do with the problems that were coming from them, but we all had to address them in different ways. They had a very simple scope and the same routine: wipe, mop, restock. They were kind of also the Area 51 of buildings. You know, everyone knows something's going on inside them, but no one really wants to share. So current day, we come to during COVID. And in our experience, they are some of the most trafficked parts of any facility, any office building, any space, receiving a disproportionate amount of attention to the space they actually occupy within those facilities. You're talking 100,000 square feet, and they might occupy only less than 10,000 square feet of the whole building, but they're getting 90% of the attention these days, outside of maybe the elevators, if any place has them. So I think it reflects correctly during COVID their usage in the space, how much attention they're receiving. For everybody that goes into a building, they're really dispersing themselves amongst their floors, amongst their areas, amongst their offices, if they're even inside them. But washrooms are the central place that everyone is going to go to no matter what. It's just human nature that you need to go into them. So currently during COVID, the attention has been markedly been an uptick for all those spaces, and there's been a lot more of that scope increase. We know we've been disinfecting twice as much, we've been visiting twice as much and cleaning twice as much in those spaces, and the simple wipe, mop, and restock has turned into wipe, mop, restock, disinfect, on and on and on. No matter how many times a day it's required, it's essential to keep everyone safe, as that's the one space that everyone's going to.
What do you think the future is going to look like from a washroom perspective?
I think the future is going to look a little bit like what it does now. People, when they visit a washroom, it's not how they interact in the spaces elsewhere. People might touch up with 10 different surfaces when they visit a washroom, from the door handles to stalls to any sinks and surfaces around it. So you're getting a lot more interaction in those spaces, whether people think about it or not. When you just enter your office building, you might touch the one button to go up in the elevator before you walk in the door of your office, and that's just 2 different surfaces you're touching. But your interactions in a washroom need to take a lot more diligence in making sure the disinfecting practices and the cleaning practices really get picked up on them. And I'm optimistic about Canada's approach to getting us back into a safe workplace, and how the changes in remote work will change the volume of people back in offices and other workplaces. But washrooms will always consistently be the focus going forward. There's still going to be the one common area that everyone shares, whether they see each other inside them or not. They're gonna take a lot of people's time to making sure they're cleaned effectively and also serviced, whether it's from the janitorial side, the building operations side, or even the supply side. So I think it's one of the ultimate stakeholder spaces presently and post-COVID. So to go into kind of wrapping up what the future is going to be like, I think it's going to be needing to be a sanitary space. It needs to have discretionary visibility, so knowing it's been taken care of without removing its privacy for everybody. And it needs to be consistently maintained preventatively, because that's going to be the only way to make sure that it doesn't become an issue and be kind of a hot spot for anything COVID related or issue related in terms of building services.
So why don't you walk us through what you think is going to change with dispensers as an example?
So I think with dispensers, it's partly a 3-part idea here, where you're going to have to look at the dispensers, the scope, and the technology all involved in the washroom. So they all kind of go piecemeal. So with dispensers, we're going to have to talk about, is it dryers that are essential, or is it going to be paper towel dispensers and paper products? Dryers might become the necessary evil because of people changing from casual hand washing to required hand washing, and vice versa during COVID times, where the visits to the washroom are more for hygiene of the hands as well as regular use. So do we look at the environmental impact that additional paper has, and how many dispensers are going to be required? And is it going to be larger dispensers that are needed, and what the usage is going to be? And the way we kind of can look at that is through technology. We're going to be tracking the consumable levels in them. Do we have a proprietary system? Do we have a third-party system? It's going to need traffic monitoring levels and notifications to know if the scope is correct for how many visits we make to the washroom. So I think it's a domino effect of, when you look at, do we need to change out the dispensers, or do we keep what we have and adapt to it? Then do we involve technology to help us adapt and to change that. And then if that changes, does the scope change with it, making sure it's necessarily taken care of. I think all three go together, and it's as much a building service contractor outlook as it needs to be a supplier outlook and also property management outlook to make sure all three pieces are effectively being used and looked at to keep washrooms as healthy and safe as possible in post-COVID.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Yanni, for sharing that perspective with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Tony Raposo with GDI Integrated Facility Services. Tony is a Regional Vice President of Operations and will give us his perspective on equipment. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Ken. I hope that you are keeping well and safe. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about the robotics part. As you know, Ken, in the last many years, we've seen in the janitorial industry companies such as Avabot, Advanced, Tenet, Candroid, and most recently, I've been doing some research on a company by the name of Somatic Bathroom Cleaning Units, which do amazing work in washroom services in confined spaces. We also are seeing more and more equipment in the medical field. I've been following and tracking multiple organizations that are quite interesting in my opinion. And we could start with UVD robots for Blue Oceans, TMI robots, and XBots, Skytron for one of them. These many units are highly germicidal, wide range of nanometers bandwidth that cause damage to photocells, to cellular DNA, and viruses, RNA, eliminating infections capability. Some devices have proven to kill bacterial, fungus, viruses, up to 99% of the coronavirus using UV energy, which is a wavelength range of the UV range. Most recently, on April 30th, 2021, CTV reported / released Canada's first disinfecting robot being tested in Canada by researchers in Montreal, testing the first robots to help kill viruses and bacteria found in surfaces in hospital using a typical or type of ultraviolet light. The Research Institute of the McGill University Health Center said in a press release that the usage of automated systems to kill harmful bacteria in hospitals could potentially improve the safety as well as protecting hospital personnel. As we know, being a frontline support, throughout it is important that we put these people first at hand and make sure that these people are safe. Also, according to the release, the robot will also be tested at the Centre Hôpital de l'Université de Montréal and the long-term care homes before a decision is made to purchase a unit of approximately $120,000. If successful, researchers say the robot could potentially reduce healthcare association infections in consequences including health, compliances, death, and extra costs.
Wow, that's pretty interesting stuff, Tony. You know, the days of a floor scrubber being basically a mechanical device to clean a floor seems to already have come quite a long way in terms of development through this COVID period. So I'd be curious to know, moving forward, from your perspective in the field, what do you see continuing to change relative to equipment, or what do you see needing to change as we continue to move forward, and get into a post-COVID environment from an equipment perspective? Your thoughts, please, Tony.
Ken, one of the things I would like to really see is that primary manufacturers and equipment manufacturers work in developing equipment that is site-specific to our environment in the janitorial. As an example, public areas, public washrooms, walk-in clinics, train stations, bus stations, airplanes, and the list can go on. We really must manage the risk to avoid another type of outbreak and control, our environment and surroundings. I think we can all agree that the coronavirus has handicapped the world, which was never been seen, and the way media has supported and provided valuable information within seconds across the world. We talk a lot about the what versus the how. We have to understand that we have to work in conjunction at all levels and understand the limitation of what is expected of the units / the robots, including human aspect. These units are going to play a big role, and we have to take into consideration, the programming in the machines and understanding how we can work together. The interaction of the public and the perception of the public plays a big part of moving forward. We are all looking for cost reductions. Is that what we're looking for? Are we looking for efficiencies? Are we looking to try to eliminate deficiencies? We need to understand our needs to better have outcome.
Thank you, Tony. That's a really interesting perspective you just shared with us. Lots to think about. Thank you again for taking the time to share that with us.
You're welcome, Ken. Have a safe afternoon.
Thank you. Our next guest speaker is Gavin Badgen with ServiceMaster Clean. Gavin is their National Director for Canada and is going to share his thoughts on shared workspaces. Welcome, Gavin.
Thanks, Ken, for having me.
You're welcome. It's good to have you here. Why don't we start off with this first question? Shared office workstations, how will these be serviced in terms of cleaning, disinfection, and preventing cross-contamination? Your thoughts?
Well, it's certainly an interesting topic, especially now as we're preparing to return to work. And while shared workspace is cost efficient in terms of footprint, previously employers seldom considered the impact of surface transmission of germs such as the common cold or flu. I mean, the advent of COVID-19 has changed all that considerably. Now employers need to ensure that shared spaces are not only cleaned between uses, but disinfected as well. Cleaning contractors now have to help educate their customers on specific needs, and they need to make recommendations based on those specific needs. Additionally, employers and customers have a higher awareness and understanding of the role of cleaning in the workplace. ServiceMaster Clean has introduced the Protect 3 Advanced program where we talk about cleaning, disinfecting, and an additional service that we call fortifying. This is the leaving of a durable antimicrobial in the space once we are complete. But all of these considerations come down to a few variables when we're talking about shared workspaces. And one of them that the employer has to consider is how often is that space used? How much traffic flows through a particular workstation? Additionally, how does the employer mark the space as used and requiring cleaning and disinfecting? Another one is once the space has been disinfected, how does the employer communicate to a potential user of that space that it is ready to use? And lastly, who will be responsible for the cleaning and disinfecting of that space? Is it the cleaning contractor on some type of on-demand basis? Or is there more of a self-serve option where the employee has a canister of wipes where they can administer cleaning and disinfecting on their own time once their space is done? Regardless, there's a number of things to consider when we're talking about shared workspaces.
You're right. There is a lot to think about there. I have another question for you, Gavin. So, having what you just said, what do you think the future of commercial and office facilities may look like moving forward?
Yeah, it has been hotly debated in industry blog posts, industry articles, and I think we can all agree that the future is going to change. the advent of the amount of remote work in professional office space has been staggering. That is likely going to drive a smaller footprint. Many people have weighed in on that idea, meaning whether it's a percentage of time that workers stay at home or whether it's home completely, there's no doubt that the commercial office space needs that a customer may require are likely going to change and likely be reduced. That's likely going to drive a lower rent cost for the end customer. Another consideration will likely be increased budgets for cleaning and disinfection. How does the return to work environment and the current place where we are in the pandemic in Canada affect the needs that we have as we re-enter the workspace as we talk about cleaning and disinfection? And parlaying off of that, the last point that I would consider is cleaning frequency. How do we consider frequency when we are approaching a commercial office space? So the future, no doubt, is coming sooner than we may realize, but I think we can all agree that we're happy to see that there's a potential light at the end of this tunnel, and the future is going to be different as we emerge into 2022 and beyond.
Wow. Well, there's one thing I think for sure, Gavin. It's going to be interesting to follow how all this shakes out. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It will be very interesting. Thanks for the time, Ken.
You're welcome. My pleasure. With us next is Michael Krupa with United Services Group. Mike is the principal and CEO and is going to talk to us today about training. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Ken. United Services Group has grown to become a national leader in janitorial services, outside services, ad hoc services, and now has played a significant role in providing disinfection, sanitation, and hygiene safety services to a variety of customer segments, including retail grocery, general grocery, fashion retail, airports, condos, and commercial spaces. United remains family owned and operated, retaining the same pride of ownership. I'm here. Thank you very much.
So, Mike, what are United Service Group's organizational vision, focus, and values? Could you talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely. Our organizational vision are two core items. Number one is quality, which we are known never to compromise on. For us, this means competent, capable, well-trained service delivery teams, cleaning for health and hygiene, not just for aesthetics, as well as ensuring that our communities feel good entering our locations. Our largest footprint is in the retail grocery segment, and with a focus on quality, we've had to create an infrastructure to support and sustain this vision. The second thing is technology and innovation. There's a lot of good off-the-shelf products on the market to help manage companies. Our direction, though, is to create proprietary technologies ourselves. So we control the product, the testing, the development, and the data of our systems and programs. So what challenges did United Services Group face during the pandemic, and how did it affect you? Well, many challenges, but some of the challenges that we faced were focused really on the uncertainty of the entire pandemic. I'm sure a lot of us have faced that. What we were going through, what were going to be the health impacts of this new virus? What was it, airborne? Was it surface-borne? Making sense of the ever-changing government guidelines and regulations in each province. Each province was different. These questions were difficult to stay on top of really each day. In addition, our customers were also struggling to pivot quickly, and their scope of work was changing. So we had to stay on top of that as well. They needed to be disinfected and sanitized at every location on a national level. We had to find labor really for over 1,000 locations with very little notice. This was a challenge that we had to overcome. Since we have over 1,500 plus partners nationally, we also had to quickly organize training to all our teams on the introduction of sanitation and disinfection in all cleaning protocols. while keeping them safe as well from COVID, as well, as their status suddenly escalated to essential workers during the pandemic. And lastly was the procurement of chemicals and disinfectants and PPEs. Again, a lot of mixed messages regarding which PPEs were the right products to use and which chemicals were the most effective and approved, and really approved by Health Canada. In addition, products we were sourcing were getting diverted to the hospitals at the last minute. So we really had to predict and secure what we needed months in advance.
Wow, that's interesting. So how did United focus on managing the communication and the training during the pandemic with all of the challenges and the changes you've just mentioned?
Yeah, that's a great question. Given all the challenges, we had to pivot quickly to create an approach that would augment what our customers were trying to achieve so that we could become pillars of support for them and their infrastructure. So our first step was to organize ourselves internally by creating pandemic guidelines. We appointed a pandemic coordinator and created daily communication to our teams on what was happening and how United was going to respond. The pandemic coordinator was really the single point of contact to manage all COVID cases nationally. They also communicated internally to manage stores that were affected and ensure customers were notified and updated, and our crews organized. The second step, a critical step, was to focus our training, and our learning development team developed training protocols aligned with ISSA's GBAC certification, as an example. All existing cleaning protocols had to be realigned with disinfection and sanitization. And in addition, we developed a whole new program we called Beyond Clean, which focuses exclusively on disinfecting and sanitizing of locations that were COVID compromised. So the training modules were also developed in conjunction with our procurement department, who supplied us with all the relevant and timely research on chemicals and products that were used in training and the requirements that go with them. Then by region, our partners underwent the GBAC Star certification program from ISSA and are currently GBAC Star certified. GBAC Star service accreditation validates a cleaning company's cleaning, disinfection, and infection prevention program to help customers prepare, respond, and recover from biohazards and infectious agents. So our training was developed in short video formats and in 3 languages so that the protocols could be demonstrated for people to see and follow to avoid any misinterpretation of what was required.
Wow. So how do you envision managing training post-pandemic as we move in that direction?
So firstly, we like to refer to our training as learning and development because what's important is the competency is building a continuous process, and it doesn't stop with a single training session. So that's really important to accept. There must be both consistent knowledge transfer and application to make a person competent and successful. So in almost every article or communication that I've read in the last 15 months, in almost every industry, training and communication has become one of the most important needs for success to an organization. The importance is heightened today because of what we went through in the last year. Our customers expect and are relying on us to have fully trained, capable partners at all times. And our learning development department helped us pivot quickly to the needs during the pandemic. We now have a learning management system, including certification of our processes. As you can see, there's a Beyond Clean customer 360-degree disinfecting and sanitizing program that we have. All partners are trained and certified with GBAC and United's emphasis on COVID-19 training before entering any customer sites. And then the other program we have is the Beyond Clean Microbe Shield application and ATP testing program, which all our partners are trained and certified with GBAC and United's emphasis on COVID-19, and also, in addition, the Microbe Shield application before entering customer sites. We also have launched a more stringent audit tool that identifies which locations training is required. Then training is dispatched based on the case request. This will allow long-term competencies and ongoing learning. These are all in addition to our SMART training, which is our starter training program, which includes basics like orientation, client's culture and expectations, general floor care knowledge, health and safety orientation, job scheduling, liability prevention, and more. To give you a sense of commitment, of our commitment to our training, we've spent over 7,000 hours training our people on COVID protocols alone in the past 15 months. This was to get all our teams updated with current situations. This has allowed us to successfully complete over 2,500 COVID interventions nationally since the pandemic started. So learning and development should not be looked at as a nice to have or for customer optics, but rather should be the driving force to our company's consistent customer success, safety, and profits.
Mike, that's very impressive what your organization has done through this period. And, I want to thank you for your insight and perspectives on the issue of training, which obviously is highly important. Thank you very much. Our last speaker is Philip Mack with Be Clean Building Maintenance. Philip is a Senior Vice President, Customer Experience, and we'll talk about emerging trends and an overall perspective. Welcome, Philip.
Welcome. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Ken. Most of what I'm going to discuss today fits into the category of emerging trends and my overall industry perspective that I think will be staying with us for quite some time. But you never know these days, things change very, very quickly. I've also added some color and input around what I think needs to change. So here we go.
That sounds good. So here's the first question, Phil. We are seeing and hearing a lot about smart building and related technologies. How are the BSCs integrating and aligning their service plans for this?
Thank you, Ken. Smart building technology has exceptional potential to align with cleaning operations and technology. Future tools will allow and act on communication between tenants, visitors, robots, building sensors for traffic, for pathogen testing, cleaning technicians, HVAC technicians, security officers in buildings, key vendors, and so on to enhance the customer experience. Much of this technology will be set up to communicate with tenants and their guests, employees and customers through smartphone apps or other tools. The building population want understanding of cleanliness, is it clean, recent disinfection, validation, is it clean and safe, available PPE and supplies, is there enough and where can I find them? And the building population will continue to contribute feedback in this regard for positive exchange and on the experience. On the redesigned workspace and use, most of the tenants and visitors will want to be in space they feel comfortable and confident in, and much of that will revolve around cleaning. Visibility into cleaning patterns and behaviors are at the center of conversations between building managers, landlords, and their BSC partners. For example, a tenant will have interest now whether a meeting room was sanitized between uses, and cleaning staff need to know in real time when a space was used last so they can clean and disinfect prior to the next guest coming in. Further, this can be applied to desks themselves. Hoteling is a phenomenon that was once thought and reserved for vacations, beaches, but already office complexes are seeing the same. Tenants will rent out or assign a desk or a meeting room for a portion of the day, for example, if they have an important meeting that day, but will not be required to be in the space physically otherwise. This opens a significant amount of space to design floor plans that allow the distancing, the appropriate traffic flow, and the solution will be both to space out the desks and provide them in a hotel desk booking system. This booking system can closely integrate with the previously mentioned real-time cleaning standards as new tenants use hoteling desks for faster turnover of office space, continuing the trend for more transparency and validation into office and space cleanliness.
That's pretty interesting. So with regard to hoteling, do you see some clients being prepared to get involved in some way of performing cleaning and disinfection? And if yes, would training be required by the service provider as a value add to that particular client?
It's a good question. Good question, Ken. I would say yes to both. Effectively, designing service plans that are customized for occupants in buildings is critical and key, and underpinned with the concept of training and validation, which I think is extremely important. We often overlook the importance of training and the value it brings to continued service, reducing interruptions, and also the point of reassurance and validation from that perspective. And we're seeing more and more certification programs emerge in our industry that are quite helpful in demonstrating an organization's commitment to training. So hopefully that answers that question. What we can also anticipate is the continued importance of proper and timely disinfection of building surfaces. Building occupants will want assurance that surfaces are being cleaned and disinfected as required. And that's an important comment, as required. Traffic sensors and smart building communication will help with this assurance and validation. Innovative products and application tools will assist in the effective and efficient process of disinfection. Disinfection with low wet contact, no toxicity, not corrosive, and efficacy versus a complete assortment of bacteria and viruses will take over from older, less effective, and toxic chemistry and products that we've seen in our industry in the past. Application tools are emerging, such as electrostatic application of solutions, cleaning solutions. Dry fogging, the use of UV light will become more advanced and widely utilized within our industry. With the rapid advancement of innovation in this area, there's a pressure on government, right? Operated regulatory bodies like the EPA or Health Canada to understand and, where appropriate, to approve, register new concepts related to disinfection. The marketplace is very interested in supporting the professional and properly approved technology, such as disinfectant solution or surface coatings with residual disinfection efficacy. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic has established a shift in perception of the general population related to cleaning standards and expectations. It's important that this shift becomes a permanent realization of the importance of cleaning. We've elevated our industry through COVID and be able to demonstrate our capabilities as an industry, which is very important. People will wash or sanitize their hands more often. Employees and customers alike will appreciate and utilize communication tools provided to understanding and contributing feedback, which is really important here from a customer service experience, a customer experience, contributing feedback related to cleanliness of facilities they work or visit. That's going to be paramount.
It's interesting. So Phil, what does the future hold for us on the human resources, technology, and regulatory fronts, in these times going forward?
So it's a good question. Our industry is based on people. They're a significant pillar, foundational component of what we do and how we present ourselves in the industry. So I think that's an important component. What we're experiencing right now is a shortage of knowledgeable and effective cleaning technicians, and their availability of labor will continue to be an issue moving forward. That's from my perspective, what we see happening effectively in North America. The employee of the future workforces may not work for one or two companies. Would it be a cleaning company and another part-time job? The shift in how the taxi industry was transformed by Uber home repair by Jiffy, and food delivery by DoorDash. That kind of work would be applied to could be applied to booking certified cleaning technicians to provide services. Therefore, cleaning service managers, schedulers, property managers, administrators, anyone will open up an app and schedule a specific job for a specific time, and a trained professional will arrive to complete the task safely and efficiently. The sustainability of cleaning is becoming a greater priority, as I mentioned earlier, and one that will continue to be underpinned by the BSC's innovative capabilities, technology, and embracing technology, and also business transformation capabilities. Organizations will need to commit, invest, and resource their businesses accordingly. Someone told me a long time ago, if a BSC's internal development is slower than the external change, you are on a road to ruin. A little bit harsh, but it does lasting comment from that perspective. So here are some worthy considerations that I'd like to discuss. Talked about highly effective cleaning solutions with fewer toxins or corrosive ingredients, even no chemicals at all. Botanical chemistry is important in our business, applies to all cleaning applications. We want to continue to provoke innovation on disinfection, safer chemistry that will also reduce dwell times, that's important, with a laser focus on indoor air quality. Majority of the R&D in that field, in this category, will all be about safety and speed. Re-entry testing, how quickly will the space be safe to re-enter? The peace of mind factor will also be a strong contributor. High quality disposable products, paper, plastic, with very high levels of recycled content, energy efficiency and reduced sound levels of equipment that the BSCs would use in client spaces, measured and appropriate control of water use, improved battery technology. We're seeing this more and more coming through our business with a focus on safety, technology, and also productivity. That has to be a return. And lastly, the regulatory and certification bodies related to cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfection products are challenged to keep up with innovation and the impact of novel viruses and disease. Newer, faster moving models that evaluate innovative approaches are desperately needed. Training and education are paramount. No more quick hits for BSCs that are ill prepared. We must provide expertise on product knowledge, application, validation, and training. Government bodies will innovate to provide appropriate support to the marketplace. Current examples of how the EPA and Health Canada have responded to the COVID-19 outbreak by providing temporary approvals, in some cases, on disinfectants and sanitizers for a virus we had not seen previously, along with approvals for disinfectant solutions and use of electrostatic sprayers and foggers in some instances. There is also a need to modernize and upgrade the levels of current regulatory standards related to approvals of sustainable properties, LEED, and products, Eco-Logo or Green Seal. These standards are now outdated with higher standards supported by new technology and its innovation. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you today, and I really enjoyed the opportunity and the conversation.
Well, thank you, Phil. That was excellent. Tremendous amount of insight and perspective on things to think about as we move forward and the changes that we're going to continue to see as we hopefully move out of this COVID into a post-COVID environment. So thank you again very much for taking the time today to share your thoughts with us. So to the viewers, this closes out our session for this afternoon. I would like to thank all of the viewers for attending and taking their time, and I hope you've taken some value from the presentations that you've heard over the last 30 or so minutes. I would like to especially thank our presenters for taking their valuable time and sharing their valuable knowledge and experience and perspective with us. So that concludes the session. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken, Russell, Yanis, Tony, Gavin, Michael, and Philippe for that great keynote discussion. What a great way to conclude the education program side of the 2021 Virtual ISSA Show Canada.
A big thanks to our supporting sponsors whose financial support made today's event possible. Our platinum sponsors, again, Clorox Pro and Scandinavian Building Services. Our gold sponsors, Charlotte Products, Nilfisk Canada, Rubbermaid Commercial Products, SC Johnson Professional, and Zytec. Our silver sponsors, International Power Systems, Candroid Robotics, and Swish Maintenance. We would like to thank our keynote and session presenters for their commitment in helping to deliver great and timely content, which we hope you enjoyed. We will be sending you a link of today's ISSA Canada's virtual experience recording for your personal use and also to share with your staff or industry colleagues. Our sincerest thanks to the Beacon Live team for helping orchestrate this year's virtual platform. On behalf of ISSA Canada and our show partners at Media Edge and IFMA Global, we hope you enjoyed today's virtual event and thanks for being with us. We look forward to seeing everyone in a face-to-face format at our 2022 ISSA Show Canada next June at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. Details will follow in a few months. And for those able to attend the ISSA Show North America in Las Vegas, November 15 to 18, we look forward to seeing you at Canada Night. Additional details will follow soon as well. Thank you. Take care, stay safe, and stay in touch.